Hi, good morning, guys. I just wanted to put my view across regarding the recent events, obviously related to the killing of George Floyd in the States. And I say killing, actually, it's actually murder, right? No doubt. Anyone watching that video will tell you that is murder. Not only murder, it's a ruthless type of murder. So, for the record, I just want to say that police officer should face full force of justice, no doubt. Now, I don't know if it was related to race, I'm not sure. Watching the video, clearly you could see a Asian police officer. Apparently there was another police officer of color involved in the whole incident. So I'm not really sure that it was definitely a race aggravated murder. But obviously I understand why those, representing the Afro-Americans in the States would see it like that. Obviously from the past experience, so on and so forth. Now, whether it was aggravated by race or not is something I can't really comment about, right? I don't know the full details, as simple as. But regardless, I just want to speak to the protesters, right? Those protesting against the murder. Black Lives Matter, right? BLM members. Guys, for the record, I grew up from early age with black people, okay? Black friends. And I say black and not colored for a reason. And the reason is I'm not gonna bow down to the political correctness, right? Which basically tells us how to say what we want to say. I mean, whether I say black or colored, either way, that's not going to make me racist or not racist. I know that I'm not racist. You know why? Because I have so many friends from school who are black, okay? I could call them colored or black, doesn't matter, they don't mind. There's not a single bone in my body that is racist. First of all, I like basketball, all right? Anybody who knows about basketball will tell you, I mean, like, being a basketball fan and being racist, dude, that's like mutually exclusive. It can't happen, okay? So for the record, I just wanted to say this. Obviously, because of what I'm going to say now, I just don't want anybody to think I'm racist or anything like that, okay? I mean, first of all, how can one be racist? How can you dislike someone because of their color or whatever? Not acceptable, totally. But guys, man, you can't be going against statues and symbols that represent freedom, man. Okay, those who we definitely know that were involved in slavery, fine. You may want to take down those statues, but there has to be a balance, man. Look, I'm basically standing in Parliament Square, right? Look, that is Winston Churchill's statue, man. Think about this. If you're going to demolish a statue of Winston Churchill, what you're doing is you're basically destroying the chair you're sitting on. You're basically destroying a symbol of freedom, man. I'm not saying everything Churchill said or did was right. He was a human being, right? But end of the day, he was a man of freedom. And as soon as you destroy his statue, you destroy a symbol that represents freedom. And guess what? The other side, what is it? What, you want to just go to China, man, or go to Russia, for that matter, and see the true face of racism and brutal police action that you will see every day. Look, I'm not saying USA or Britain or the West in general is a land of paradise. Far from it. There are many things which I don't like, right? As a British citizen. But we just have to sit down for a moment and think that maybe in the name of freedom and in the name of fighting against racism, you may actually be playing in the hands of the insidious ideology of identity politics, yeah? Ideology which basically seeks to pit people against each other in the name of gender, race, LGBT community, so on and so forth. All you hear nowadays is race, gender, he's gay, she's lesbian. You don't hear anybody saying, you know what, he's a human being or she's a human being, and you just have to love human being regardless of what they stand for, how they look, and how they live their life. So, I mean, protest, if need be, like I'll join you, no problem. But let's not play into the hands of this insidious neo-Marxist ideology, man, that seeks to shut down debate. Not only shut it down, it seeks to control what we think in the name of freedom. And in the name of freedom, it seeks to put hate in our hearts. We can't let that happen. We just have to think for a while, okay? Protesting is a healthy manifestation of anger. But, I mean, as soon as you cross the line and you go against people like Churchill, you just have to remember you're destroying the chair you're sitting on. This is unacceptable, man. Now, I also want to say something about the establishment. And actually, I want to say something to the establishment. Guys, for the last 70 years, I mean, there's been a consensus, right? That arguably the biggest threat to humanity since its existence, right, was Nazi Germany and Hitler. And defeating Hitler was arguably one of the biggest victories of humanity. Now, there's been another consensus for the last 70 years, and that is we must praise Churchill, Roosevelt, Gaulle, but we must condemn Joseph Stalin. But hold on a minute. That's a bit of a double standard, isn't it? We all know Joseph Stalin was the biggest architect in defeating Nazi Germany, okay? Personally, and also the lives that were lost from the Soviet Union. So you can't be saying Joseph Stalin was someone who deserves to be condemned, praise Churchill, and then have statues of Stalin demolished in post-Soviet countries, such as Georgia, for example, where I'm from, and despise the fact that there may come a moment when people all of a sudden want to demolish the statue of Churchill. That's wrong. But what is also wrong is condemning Stalin and saying he killed millions of people. Guess what? Many people say Winston Churchill also killed millions of Indians. They say he was a racist. Now, times change. It was different times back then. 50 years down the line, people may think we were wrong. Some of the things we now think it's correct and right. 50 years down the line, we may also be deemed as racist, or so on and so forth. What we have to think about is what was the bigger picture. We just have to look at the bigger picture and be honest with ourselves and say, yes, despite some of the mistakes maybe Stalin made, or Churchill, or de Gaulle, or Roosevelt, these guys were the biggest architects of arguably the biggest victory since human race has existed, okay? So we can't have it two ways. If we want to protect the statue of Churchill, and we want to do that, we should want to do that, because by that we are protecting our future. we should also, you know, play by the same rules when it comes to Stalin. We can't have it two ways, okay? So I just wanted to say this to the establishment. And yeah, I mean, again, just to go back to what I said at the beginning, the killing of George Floyd was a ruthless act, and that should never happen to any human being. Matter of fact, that should never happen to an animal, okay? To any living being. And hopefully this will be a lesson to be learned from all sides, because end of the day, if we destroy freedom in the name of freedom, all we have left is lack of freedom and potentially a dictatorship. And actually, guess what? If you really want to demolish statues, why not demolish the statue of Karl Marx? The guy who's been one of the biggest driving forces of killing millions and millions of people in the name of his ideology. I mean, I don't know, man. It all seems, I'm not for conspiracy theories, but it all seems a bit dodgy. That there's a list of statues the BLM community want to bring down, and in the list we don't see the name of Karl Marx. I'm not sure about that. I think we just have to think for a while, okay? Or maybe for a moment. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna wrap it up and send my condolences to family members of George Floyd, and actually everyone on this planet, because I mean, anybody watching that video will tell you, man, it was painful watching it, okay? So yeah, man, I mean, I'm standing next to the statue of Churchill. This guy was a man of freedom. Remember this, yeah? So I'm gonna say victory, and peace. But peace has to be built on truth and love, okay? Peace without truth and love, we don't want that type of peace, okay? So peace, victory based on truth and love.